Hello, my fellow aviators and my beloved mechanics. This is another edition of Flight Club. First rule of Flight Club, don't talk. And this series is designed to help you new guys in how to get a flying job, how to keep a flying job, and what's really important when you step over into the corporate world or even the airlines, whenever you're about to become a working pilot, what we're interested in. What you're doing now at the flight schools is just learning how to fly the airplane. Once you pass that stage and you enter the world of the corporate flight line or the airlines, flying the airplane is just expected. It's not the job. It's just the bare minimum for you to be there. So on this edition, this one's titled Air Door to Heaven, a tribute to First Officer Toasty. Now on this story, it's a story of narrow steps at awkward angles. It's the story of a first officer saving a life. It's the story of losing a friend. So with that being said, let's launch into this. Now, after your flight training and you go to your interviews, you're not going to have anything useful to say. Let's face it, you're flying trainers, 172s, Piper Archers, that kind of thing. They have nothing to do and don't even fly like the King Airs, like the jets you're applying for. Nothing in common. And then your skills as a pilot is just at the bare minimums. You just met standards. That's all that meant. You have no experience to back it up. So usually you guys go into the interview talking about what a badass you are in a 172. God bless you. You talk about being the only keeper, sole keeper of the FARs, and that you'd never break any rule whatsoever. Well, that's really not what we're looking for. What we're looking for when you come into an interview is that, especially on the corporate side, customer care. Making sure our clients are not only comfortable, well taken care of, but you keep them safe. You can't imagine that the biggest fear that your captain has is not a broken plane, not screwing up on an approach. It's the loss of one of his passengers. Even the thought of one of them getting hurt on his flight is almost too much to bear for us. That's how much we care about them. Now, if you come into the interview and you state that is your purpose, all of a sudden the captain's eyes are going to light up and he's going to start paying close attention to you and he will want to hire you. So with that being said, let's talk about one of the first things that you could talk about on your interview, and that's the air store doors into his airplane. You look at that airplane and you see those big propellers, you see those jet engines, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, that's the dangerous thing. No, not at all. We keep our clients away from those. And actually, most of our clients have the good sense not to get around those. So that's really not an issue at all. But what is the air stair door. Here's a picture of what the air stair door looks like. This is on a King Air, which I flew. And you can see that the steps are very tiny. They're very narrow. They are at an awkward angle. Now, being a young kid, young first officer, you would look at this and not even give it a second thought unless somebody told you. But look at those steps and think about grandma. Think about grandpa. Think about shuffling them up and down these stairs constantly. That's your job, cowboy, and it's not an easy one. So when you're looking at these stairs, realize they are actually the most deadly thing on that airplane as far as you are concerned as a first officer. Your job is to make sure those stairs do not kill one of your clients. So now let's go into a personal story of what happened on this, okay? Because I actually have a first officer Toasty, that actually saved a life knowing about this. So with all my first officers, and probably you when you get hired on by a corporate flight department, you're going to be instructed that your position is at that door to ensure safety. So now your position is to be right beside the door with your hand on the safety rail. Making it, hold on tight, cowboy, because if you don't hold on tight, that could be the difference between life and death. I'm not kidding. So now, with the clients going up the stairs, that's usually not a big problem. Usually, if they miss a step, they'll just fall down into the steps and kind of stay where they are. Just watch our president getting on and off Air Force One. Don't want to be political, but you get what I'm saying. They just fall down and they're there. It's not a big deal. It's just embarrassing, that's all. But if they happen to fall backwards, hold on that rail tight. Plan to move your body. Stop them with your body. Do not try to grab onto them with your hands. It won't work. There's too much mass. They'll just blow right through you. So use your body to block them, and then use your arm to wrap around them to hold them, to keep them safe. So now, going up, not a problem. Maybe, but it's not going to be that much of a hit, okay? Where the greatest danger lies is when they're coming down the stairs. So now, after you've done your flight, and remember, doing the flight's the easy part. That's the easy part. So don't act all tired and like you just did your job just because you landed. But as soon as you land and you shut down, make sure you're the first one to that door. Because you'll be flying the same passengers day in, day out. They'll watch you. They'll see how to open that door. Now, when you land, they're in a hurry. They're late for a meeting. They have to pee. I mean, it's a stampede at that door. It really is. So make sure you get there first because they'll open that door on you. Now, what could be wrong with that, you would say? Well, flight safety, a couple years back, we had one client do such a thing. He opened up that door before the plane depressurized. That door blew out and it took that guy's arm with him. Just right off of his body. Like that. Can you imagine that happening to you? Can you imagine having that on your resume? Now, not to talk bad about somebody's injury, but we always do anyways. What are you going to put on your resume? What are you going to say in an interview after that comes up? Hey, Cap, my passengers help me give me an arm with the door sometimes, but not very often. I suggest you start practicing instead how to say, would you like to supersize your order and get a large fries with that, sir? Maybe you could also practice, if you have a college degree, would you like a tall or venti, sir? Anyways, an incident like that will be heard around the airport. It will come up. Remember, it's a small world, and bad news always travels fast. So this will be known, and we're more worried about the passenger losing his arm than your flying career, to be honest. And I think that's right and just. Passengers come before us. So now make sure you get to that door. You properly open it, and part of the procedure is making sure that you hit a button, opens up a bellows, and it makes sure that the plane is decompressed. Safely open the door, and then hurry down those steps and get into position because it's like a stampede coming down after you. Hold safely and strongly onto that safety line or rail. Remember, this could be the difference between life and death. As your clients come down that air stair door, remember, their job is to be at luncheons, dinner parties, cocktail parties, out on the golf course, going into the clubhouse, eating like a horse. This is where all the deals are made. This is their job. This is their battlefield. Because of this, you have a good, high-paying job flying a jet. So honor that. But as a result, they get a bit of a tummy on them. And what we mean by a bit of a tummy is slightly obese. In fact, we don't even say that. We just say you're slightly big. But anyways, these clients are going to be in the 250 to 350 pound range on you. Just what it is. They have not seen their feet in years. Now you're asking them to come down the air stair doors and hit a little narrow step that they can't see. This is insanity is what it is, but it is what it is, and this is your job. So when they're coming down those stairs, and remember, after you get them back from parties and dinner parties, they've been having martinis, they've been drinking, so they might even be a little bit intoxicated. Just a bit. So now when they're coming down those steps, remember, don't take your eyeballs and stare at their feet. You're gonna freak them out. And if you freak them out, the first words out of their mouth is they're gonna look you straight in the eye and say, "What the duck you looking at?" And believe me, I didn't put as much hate, venom, and loathing into it as they will. You'll freak them out, they'll chew you out. One of the favorite lines that they would use when a first officer would do this is he would just come back, peek his head back in the fuselage and go, "Hey, Captain, get this special needs kid back to the flight school on the short bus." I always loved that one. I rode to school in the short bus for 2 years. I loved that short bus. I met some of the best people on there, the most interesting for sure. And it prepared me for a life as a corporate pilot. Truly did. But anyways, don't bring that hate down upon yourself. So now, out of your corner of the eye, kind of like looking at a pretty girl or a pretty guy when he comes in the restaurant and you're with your girlfriend or boyfriend and you don't want them to know you're checking them out. It's kind of one of those deals. So out of your side vision, watch those feet. If you see that foot missing a step, don't even bother to say anything. Remember what the patch says. Don't talk. Not going to do any good. First off, because they're not going to listen to you. And what are words going to do when somebody's falling out of the sky? Not much. So instead, when you see that foot missing that step, you turn your body into the stairs, block the stairs. Use your other hand to come up to cradle that client and to hold them, make sure that they don't blow by you. Hold on to that safety rail for life, cowboy, because you're looking at a hit from an NFL lineman coming at you. We're talking about 250, 350 pounds of just dead weight falling out of the sky on you. And it is going to be a hit. You're going to be hurt. You're going to be bruised. You might not be able to move an arm or two the next day. But whatever it takes, you keep that client from blowing past you and falling headfirst into the tarmac, planting his face right into that asphalt. Because certain death will happen if you let that take place. And that will not only be on you, but that will also be on the captain. His career is over. So now, with that being said, next time you're in an interview, you look at that captain who's interviewing you. He'll have a dull look in his eye, kind of like this, and he'll say, "Hey, thank you for coming in. You're very important to us. We're very interested in hiring you, whatever your name is. And can I get some candy real fast?" And we'll go over and get Captain Candy. And he'll say, yeah, please tell us about being a badass in the skies and that 172 and your in-depth knowledge of it. I bet you can shoot approaches down to minimums. Yep. And you're the sole keeper of all the FARs. You'd never break a rule. You're going to make sure everybody follows the rules. Good job, cowboy. And then as he's taking his Captain Candy, taking it down, you wait for him to get that glass of water down because you don't want him to choke. Let him swallow. Because the next things you're going to say are going to surprise him. So now, you look him right in the eye. And you say, Cap, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And if there's any MudderDucker that's planning on stepping off your air stair door to his certain death, he's got to go through me first. That captain, his mouth is probably going to fall open. It's probably going to be one of these things. Now remember, he's experiencing an emotion that he hasn't felt for years. Hope. Give him a moment to deal with that complicated emotion. Because, well, yeah, you got to give him a moment. After a moment, he's going to look at you and he's going to say, can you start tomorrow? Now give it a pause. Nod your head yes, and give him a very affirmative quack. With that being said, I'd like to just tell you about my first officer, Toasty, who saved a life just with this simple task. We were coming home late at night after a dinner and cocktail party. It was late. It was very dark. He was very drunk. We got to our destination. Toasty came down those stairs. He got at the ready. He was holding on to that lifeline, or that safety line. Wait, so you can call it a lifeline. That passenger came down. He couldn't see those steps for nothing. It was dark and he couldn't see his feet to begin with. He missed that top step by that much, less than an inch. And boy, when he missed that step, he fell from the heavens like a bolt of lightning. Toasty saw this out of the corner of his eye. Instinctively, he sprung into action. He got in front of that air door, blocked it with his body, and put his arm out to embrace that guy. He came down, and he had to be at least 300, 350 pounds. He hit Toasty head on. I heard the smack. It was actually kind of like that. All of a sudden, that passenger with that big belly full of appetizers from the cocktail parties, the chimichangas, spicy Thai lettuce wraps, those little hot dogs on the toothpicks. Oh, and don't forget the green olives and the martinis. That was kind of all mixing together in a big belly full of digestive juices, and that belch came up. Ooh, I heard it up in the cockpit. And unfortunately, I had my storm window open, so I could smell the aroma of this mixture of soon-to-be vomit coming up and lightly drifting on the breeze. I know that Toasty got a good dose of it, a nice warm breath of it right in his face. His eye was twitching from this for about a day and a half, just from the aroma. I didn't say anything. Anyways, the manager recovered, and without missing a beat, he looked at Toasty there, holding on to him, and said, "Get your MudderDucking hands off me!" To which Toasty smiled, said, "Yes, sir." Made sure his footing was secure, got out of the way. That manager was driven home, got home, went to bed. Our mission was successful. The next day I came up to Toasty, and boy, the night before I had been rehearsing all kinds of lines. Oh boy, I was ready to go. I was going to mock him, ridicule him. You know the drill. And all of this for doing his duty, for saving a life. Remember, at the airport, no matter whatever good you do, whatever bad, don't talk. So I came up to Toasty and I was ready. I noticed that he wasn't able to move his right arm. That arm that he had held on to what we called the lifeline. Couldn't move it. It was hurt. And it was hurt bad. So I asked him, "Hey, Toasty, something wrong with your arm?" He looked at me right in the eye, and like the finest first officer I could ever have, he answered me back, "Yeah, Cap, I heard it at the gym, lifting weights." With that, I just looked at him, gave him a captain smile, and said, "Nice." I love that guy. He saved the life of one of my passengers. There is no finer gift that you could give your captain than that. Now, Toasty was also a peace officer. He was a member of the SWAT team with the Gardena Police Department. We lost Toasty in the line of duty back a couple years ago. He is survived by his wife and his little son. If you have time today at the end of your busy day, I'd ask that you maybe say a prayer for Toasty's family, his little boy, for his mother and father. I think that's the least that we could do for one of our fallen aviators. And now, with that being said, I would just like to say God bless you. Keep flying speed. And Quack.